What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel.
Got Brett Wynn on the line from Pot of Gold. We encourage you to jump on over there. If you've caught any of the videos that Brett has joined us on here, you know that the insight, the information, and some stories are in play. So it's been a good time with Brett and the folks at Pot of Gold. Brett, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Like I told you when we just started, I'm just kind of enjoying a national championship. It feels good.
It should feel good. You know, you didn't have to wait forever like other programs across the country that haven't had one in like 50 years, but still 12 years is a long time. So does it feel as good as you thought it was going to feel?
It does. It's weird seeing like Burrow on the Dan Patrick show. And, I was talking to Mike yesterday and I said, like, no disrespect to any of them, but I feel like we had a Danny Etling with a lot of moxie the year before. And then the next thing you know, it's like the probable number one pick. So it's just kind of strange with that. And just kind of thinking about LSU winning its third title and, the third, to 03, 07, and then now. And you're like, we did that with three different coaches in the span of 20 years. Like, no one else is doing that. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, you start kind of thinking about the different things that make this special and not just like we got to hold the trophy. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, so you got to jump on over to Pot of Gold. You got Brett and Mike over there doing a nice job talking LSU football, and we brought them on here. So they're certainly providing great insight and information for us. So when people talk about the elite in college football, they start with Alabama, they include Clemson, and some people would say it stops right there. It's been Alabama, Clemson for the last 5 or 6 years. Some people would say that includes Ohio State. They would be kind of the next in line. Maybe a Georgia, even though they haven't ascended to the top, because of the recruiting, because of Because you won a national championship, are you of the thought that, hey, that brings you to where you need to be and you are elite, or you need to prove it over and over, not run a string of national championships together, but stay in that top 5 discussion?
No, I mean, look, I think LSU has elite talent and all of that, but I think to be kind of in that Bama and Clemson, you have to show the ability to win your conference championship more than once, at least, be in the discussion for a playoff. Whereas, like, I think LSU is there. I'm not so sure that they deserve to be, like, spoken about there. I mean, this was a legendary team, but it's like, LSU's got a pretty favorable schedule, and you look at next year with a lot of guys leaving, but the talent that LSU has, you look at it as LSU should be in the discussion for an SEC championship. And if they're not, then it's like, okay, what's different? I don't know. It's like, okay, was it a one-hit wonder? I don't think so, but you could start to say like, I don't know. Next year should be good.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is what we do each and every day. We talk college football with the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry, and with best discussion, debate, and analysis. So please just lock it in right here. Talking LSU and the NFL losses for the teams that were going 8-4 and 9-3 were substantial and among the top 2 or 3 in the nation. Now we've got this team that is one of arguably the greatest in the history of the game. Check out the metrics. If you think maybe there's recency bias from some people, and then there's historic bias from others to say this team couldn't be one of the greatest of all time. But if you look at the schedule versus the competition and the scores and the metrics involved, LSU ranks right there. Before we take off on the NFL losses, your perspective on that, making that argument?
All I know is what I watched, and I remember the Miami team when I was pretty young, but that was like right when I started watching football, and that was awesome. Those dudes were really good, but I've just never seen what LSU did before, and I've seen some really good Bama teams, and I've seen Clemson, be good, but the schedule's one thing, but if you go back and watch those games and look at it, don't even care about the score. LSU mostly dominated start to finish every game. I mean, there was never really a game in doubt. LSU dominated the Bama game as much as any game they played. They just had a couple unfortunate plays here and there, a big hit pass, touchdown. The team was just incredible. I told Mike yesterday, it's like I'm almost ready for next year, so there's a little bit of nervousness. I was so calm because I thought LSU was going to be so good and always be able to do it. I trusted Joe Burrow with everything. And now it's like for so long, LSU had that Les Miles lump in your throat where you're just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then you have a flip pass on a fake field goal. I almost missed it. Like, it was fun. I'm not going to complain about this LSU season, but I'm excited for like that type of stuff going forward.
Brett, I miss Les Miles for two reasons. Obviously,
I don't miss Les
quotes.
Miles. Okay, please, I don't.
Yeah, you've got an investment in the situation. I just stand back and just enjoy the games and enjoy the candor and enjoy the, I miss the quotes. I miss just the swag. And Ed Ogeron certainly has that from a different standpoint.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I miss those two. I'll say they average to about 2 games per year. Clock management, time management, play calling in certain situations where I could just be like, okay, there's a lot of times when this stuff is very questionable. This was not questionable. This was blown. I can get on here. He gave me some fodder.
As an LSU fan, that became the norm, and that's what you got used to. I mean, talking about the Tennessee game where we snap it with a quarter of a second left and they have 13 men on the field. It was like, I've just been conditioned to think that's what college football is. And then when this LSU team came in like a machine, I mean, LSU forever has gotten false starts, formation penalties, just everything that you would just like beat your head into the wall. And that just didn't happen this year. This team was so professional in the way they prepared and how they executed. And then they celebrated. They had swag. They had fun. I mean, it was an incredible ride. Like I told Mike, let's say sanctions come down in 10 years about this team, I don't care, because this was worth it all. Like, that was so fun to watch. Like, I could go start a new hobby now. Like, I'm good.
Oh, you don't want to stack these up? Like,
yeah, no, that'd be great. Like, let's do it all. But it's like, I don't know. We were talking about the Ohio State tattoo gate. Like, Mike and I are doing something where we go back to each year of the decade and we're going to do a podcast about it, have a lot of fun with it. So we've been talking about all these random things. And I was like, yeah, the Ohio State thing, they won those games. Like, we all look back as like, yeah, that was a good team. It's like, whatever. Like, we don't care about those sanctions and it's only a decade later. It's like, I don't care. Being in that moment, enjoying all that fun was worth it. They can take whatever they want in a decade or two, or they can, we can stack 20 of them. They can take them all. It's just been fun.
And not to talk about that specific situations or NCAA sanctions in general, but especially when the sanctions and the allegations and the infractions don't involve cheating that help you win games, when they were just periphery, stupid stuff, tattoos being traded for little gold trinkets,
Yeah, I don't know. It's just been kind of funny going back through some of these years and reading these scandal reports and everything. And it's just like, I told Mike, we got to figure out some way to put like that 2020 optics, the lens on these things, because it's so different than you remember it being. You're like, oh yeah, okay, can we move on? Like, I don't know. AJ Green sold his jersey and it was like the biggest deal in America. And it's just like, I don't care. It's just kind of funny to go back and look at those things now.
We got Brett Wynn on the line from Pot of Gold. Join him and Mike on a regular basis to talk LSU football. And of course, it sounds like you guys are delving through history. So that really intrigues me. I'm going to catch some of that.
Perfect. Yeah, we actually haven't come up with a name yet, so we got to get on that. But just something fun to do. I think branch out a little bit from LSU as much as we love LSU. I mean, we like talking football and doing just entertaining type of segments and stuff. So we're going to try that out and do that this offseason and try to plan 2020 or 2021, whatever the year is, and just have fun next year. Keep it going.
So as we mentioned a few minutes ago, the NFL losses are always substantial, not just from the graduating class, but from the early entries into the draft. Joe Burrow will probably be the first name called. Lucky him. He goes to Cincinnati and a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 30 years, but maybe he's the guy to do it.
If there's anybody, I'll take him.
Exactly. Let's start there, Brett. Go on down the line just in regards to offense and defense and those guys that you're going to lose and how much they're going to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys have been super productive when you go to the Clyde Edwards-Helairs, the Justin Jeffersons, the Thad Moss, Joe Burrow, obviously. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for 60 touchdowns. Just, I know everyone knows, but just think about that for a second, that Joe Burrow threw for 60 touchdowns in a year. LSU's got it, and the offensive line is going to definitely take a few hits. But once again, I think that's one of the spots that Ed has recruited the best in the last couple of years to replace him. Ed Ingram, I think, is going to be a name that is talked about as one of those top O-line guys. Replacing Clyde, you got Ty Davis-Price and John Emery, who was the number one player at his position just last year that didn't get a ton of playing time this year. This team is loaded with talent. I think Racey McMath is going to be a guy that really steps up in this new offense at the wide receivers. Eric Gilbert, a true freshman that's already early enrolled, is a tight end. I mean, this dude is a physical freak. You can put him in the slot. You can put him at defensive end. He's a guy that's probably going to take the first snap at tight end at LSU next year. I mean, he's an absolute monster. He's going to be a matchup problem from the day he steps on the field. I think Ed's done a great job. Les Miles used to kind of do, I don't want to call it lazy recruiting, but sometimes his recruiting wasn't that great. And you would, oh, yeah, we got the wide receivers, but we're not going to throw the ball. What does that matter? I think Ed has done a great job with the entire staff of building the program and getting the guys that they want and to fill the positions. I mean, this wide receivers group is still absolutely loaded. As long as Joe Brady didn't bring everything with him to Carolina and pack up Steve Ensminger and take him, I think LSU is going to have a good shot next year. Miles Brennan's got an arm. That's all I can say about him. We don't know. Miles Brennan has an arm. That's the only thing I do know.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We've had Brett and Mike on, I don't know, 6 or 7 times to talk LSU football and get a shot.
I like to ramble. Sorry.
What's that?
I like to ramble. Sorry.
That's why you're here. we love the rambling. We love the rambling. So join these guys over at Pot of Gold. It's a good discussion each and every time talking LSU football. So those are the guys you lose. In regards to, I'm gonna term this breakout players. We hear that term thrown around during the offseason all the time. Who are going to be the breakout players? For me, Brett, breakout player means, okay, this guy's been fairly insignificant to this point in his career. Little special teams, little spot duty. Now he needs to be an impact player, not necessarily a superstar, but we need him to fill a spot and be productive. Or maybe go to that next level. This guy's been a productive player. He's ready to be a superstar. He's ready to be an all SEC type player. Who would be those guys possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to pick John Emery. I mean, you don't just get handed the number one running back in the country coming out of high school. I think he had a lot of issues with some of the blitz pickups maybe, and he just didn't get on the field. It seemed to me like Joe Burrow didn't really trust him, and it's when you have Clyde, that makes sense. But also, I mean, this dude got LASIK. Apparently, he hasn't been able to see out of his left eye or something like that for a while, so maybe his vision's going to be better, but this kid's an elite athlete, and I think he's going to be awesome once he can actually get a ton of reps and get used to the speed of the game along with Price. I already mentioned Eric Gilbert. I think he literally is going to be a guy as a true freshman to be a really good player. Racey McMath is a name you're probably going to hear more. He's really athletic. Trey Palmer is a super fast wide receiver that I think can definitely play in this offense. Trying to think of Eric Monroe. I mean, I don't know what to say. We talk about Eric Monroe on our podcast a lot, a 5-star safety coming out of high school, and he's been a special teams monster, but he's just never really gotten on the field a ton. Is he a guy that in this new Pelini offense or new Pelini defense that they're going to put in that's allowing players to be really athletic and just do what they do? Aranda's defense is very, very it's a great defense, but it's very technical, and I think Pelini's just going to let the guys play. Is Eric Monroe that 5-star athlete that we're going to be like, oh, okay, it took him a while, but he's that dude? Or is he just like that Craig Lawson that's good but never been what you thought he was going to be coming out of high school?
Got Brett and Mike on the line with us on a regular basis to talk LSU football. As I struggle along here, the voice of college football may be a bit compromised, and when I say, pardon upon voice of college football. So Brett helping us out talking LSU. So you got to join those guys, Brett and Mike, over on Pot of Gold. All right. Yeah, when we look at breakout players, that's what we've got right there. The early enrollees, that's always an impressive group as well. Let's see, you had I'm looking at 7 on campus right now. A class that ranked 4th in the nation in 2020. That ranking should hold through the signing period here that comes up on Wednesday, because just about everybody, like 85 to 90% of the class across the nation signed in December. So early enrollees, who are you excited about?
Early enrollee, I mean, I know I keep saying his name. Eric Gilbert's a guy. Jordan Tolles is actually I think he's going to play football and basketball at LSU. He's a safety. BJ Ojolari is a defensive end, kind of outside linebacker guy that I think can play. And then you got the two quarterbacks that you're most likely not going to see this year, at least, and TJ Finley and Max Johnson. So, I mean, Gilbert is every time you watch this guy, you're just like, wow, this is pretty incredible. He's going to be a 3-year player and then playing in the NFL. So that's definitely a name that I'm going to keep saying and drill it into your head. There's Jordan Burch sitting out there that LSU feels really good about, committed to South Carolina and then didn't sign. That could really be a huge get for Ed Orgeron to kind of cap off the class. So, I mean, like you said, most people are signed. LSU's picked up a few really talented guys that their star rankings went up late in the game, which I know they don't care about. But Burch is sitting out there, and I think a few teams think they're going to get him. So that would be a pretty nice cap to a really, really good class for LSU. I mean, I think this has got a lot of good players that'll play at LSU.
Yeah, the 7 enrollees that are already on campus, everybody's ranked in the top 20 at their position. About half of those guys, 3 to 4 of those guys ranked in the top 10, 2 or 3 ranked in the top 5 of their position. Elite guys coming back into the fold in Baton Rouge, so nothing has changed there.